Remember when movies with the character would just start singing and you're like, are we all supposed to see this? Not recently, but like 1960s movies, like, why is she singing suddenly? This isn't really a music, this is just the one song.
Forever and ever.
Hello. Hi.
Hello.
Welcome to Your Inner Child's an Idiot podcast, where we look back on things from our childhood and decide if they were ever any good to begin with. I'm Damon.
I'm DJ.
Very well. Hi. So it's Valentine's Day.
Ooh.
Pretend with me. It's early
just
November.
hear those heart bells ringing and sing in too. That's
Cupid is coming together with the birds of a feather with you.
Love potion number 9. That's what I should have done.
You really should have. You really screwed up. So I have chosen a romantic movie.
Delightful.
Here's the thing.
Love it in the
It's
end.
going to be a little bit of a chuckle fest, I think.
Okay.
Based on
good time.
the back of the VHS I looked at.
Okay.
This came out in 1997.
97. Okay.
It has the non-imprisoned Masterson in it.
Okay. Okay.
It has...
I get them confused, so...
Fair enough. Hold on, I had a good one there. Oh, it has Paul Giamatti in it.
Is it Sideways?
It is not.
Check.
It has either Dylan McDermott or Dermot Mulroney in it.
Okay.
It has the contractor from the Money Pit in it.
Oh, I don't remember that.
It has the lady, Muriel's best friend from Muriel's Wedding in it.
Oh, also have never seen that.
It also has Julia Roberts, Cameron Diaz, and Rupert Everett in it.
Was my best friend's wedding?
My best friend's wedding!
I got moves you've never seen.
I
remember that line.
And little Danny Masterson looks at her, maybe not Danny Masterson, other Masterson looks at her with horn dog teenage eyes.
I remember that move or that line was in the trailer. I've got moves you've never seen, and I was like, "That's not funny," but okay, maybe it will be in context. And then
she's also wearing a crop top in that scene, so that's something.
Yeah, and in the movie's context, it's also not a particularly funny line, but
it sure is one of those lines like there doesn't need to be a context. Just take that and put it in every commercial.
Just with this pretty woman, literally, and the commercial
trademark.
If I recall correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Dermot McDillon is going to marry Cameron Diaz.
Cameron D of Destiny, yeah.
And they have, whichever guy that is has a deal like with Julia Roberts, one of those,
right.
Like, if we're not married by we're 30, we'll get together.
Exists in movies and TV shows. No, has any opposite sex people or same sex people, hey, we're non-binary people, ever made this deal?
I feel like if, it is one of those things, if one person tried to make that deal, one party, it's like obvious that you have like a thing for that.
Yeah, you're obviously trying to take me to Pound Town. Get away from me, you freak.
Yeah. Or let's do
you want to take me to Pound Town like 20 years from now?
I mean, let me tell you something about straight nice guys, okay? You got to plant the seeds.
Yeah.
And then
nigger. And then you want to plant the seeds.
Watch. I know what you were saying. I know what you were saying.
I apologize.
Let's go ahead and let's say that a different way, maybe.
I don't know how to say it. That's how they say it. I'm supposed to be wearing a funky hat.
Why don't we say her?
Her.
Full word.
She is one to be negged.
Yeah, still not great, is it?
Still hate it. It's almost like the incel pickup artist community are terrible people. And everything they touch is tainted and weird.
I'd be careful now because I, for one, welcome our new incel overlords. And everything they do is precious and great. And
all hail JD Vance.
I've never said anything otherwise. Please don't listen to any of the previous episodes before this one.
Start with this one, and the whole show is new from here on out. This is a new podcast. We bought the name from a previous podcast we were not associated with, despite our voices sounding similar. Anyway, my name's David, and we're going to talk about...
David and BJ review Christian Mel Gibson films.
We watch Pure Flicks stuff. Apocalypto, you're going to love it. Hey, I remember this movie partially because Rosie O'Donnell loved this movie and she had the whole cast on, and she took the whole studio audience from her talk show to go see this movie.
That sounds like a headache.
It does. It sounds like a logistical nightmare. Like, what do I put everyone in a bus? We've got to get like 3 buses here to get the whole studio audience and hope everyone's good. Did everyone go to the bathroom before we're going into the theater? We can't leave.
Andy Kaufman bringing everybody from Milk and Cookies.
Exactly. I remember this for that. I remember this because there is a nonsensical musical number in the middle of it where they sing, I Say a Little Prayer for You.
Oh, I don't remember that.
And this is also maybe the first mainstream movie that had a gay character in it that everyone wasn't mocking and was actually like aspirational. Like, he seemed cool and someone this is like the origin of the gay best friend trope, I feel like, in pop culture in the 90s.
Which everyone aspires to be.
Of course. I don't want to have sex. I just want to be some girl's best friend.
I would love to have a disturbing amount of interest in my friend's sex life. Go to him. You want to say that at some point.
Of course.
Yeah.
Get out of here, girl. Go to him, I would also say.
If only he's not Southern, is he? Go to him.
No, I would get real Southern. If I was a gay best friend, I would be exhausting and loud and very, very Southern.
Yeah. Go to
y'all. Girl. Go. I'd actually slowly evolve into Rita McEntire, actually.
You work 2 jobs. A lot of like neck moving and
a lot of neck movement and smirking from one side of my face. I'm saying about where you am.
Here's your one chance, Julie Roberts. Don't let us down. We're talking about My Best Friend's Wedding. I have to be honest. If I've seen this, it would have been like once back in the day. So I don't have a lot to add. Julie Roberts, Cameron Diaz, at this era especially, we could get it. I gotta be honest.
This is that sweet spot. Pre Charlie's Angels, post The Mask. You're gonna love Cameron D in this.
Yeah.
Also, here's something else you're gonna love, and I want you to keep an eye out. I want you to write this down.
Okay.
There is a plot point that involves email in this movie. One of the first email plot points in Cinema. It is, thank you for scratchily writing. It is something that always sticks in my brain. I would like to talk about it on the other side, as they say, or which to our listeners is 10 seconds from now.
Right.
But to us is what, 3 months?
It's going to be a while. I feel like that's still, I wonder if it'll stick out like it did, like right now, still in this era, like modern movies, when they talk about podcasts. I know we have a podcast and podcasting has become a lot more prevalent and stuff. It's always
almost
very
exhaustively
weird.
So.
It's very weird. And I wonder if that's the way that it felt to you at the time. It was similar, like email. Why don't you email me? It's like, you don't have to say it like that.
I think actually I've seen this more recently than that. So I think it's going to stand out to you for the same. It doesn't stand out because like email was so weird at the time. It stands out from the perspective of a person where email is quite common.
Okay.
The way they treat email in this movie. Electronic mail.
That'll never catch on.
And then he puts on his opera glasses and walks out.
Okay, we're gonna watch My Best Friend's Wedding. 1997, is that what you said?
That's correct. That's accurate. In the midst of the Hanson craze, Julia Roberts stuck her head into cinemas. What? Like she's Winnie the Pooh? What are you talking about? Jesus Christ.
We're going to bop our way onto the commercial now. We'll see you on the other side.
2 and 2.
Do you remember when I was trying to start a different podcast and then you tried to break up the podcast at the last minute?
Oh, yes. You tried to start your Cincinnati Bengals podcast, I believe, with your good friend Kimmy.
And then I ran away with you, my gay best friend. It's tangentially related to what we're talking about here today.
I was gonna have a different memory of this real event. Not to but you.
I was gonna, but I didn't.
where you were chasing after your fellow Bengals fan, Kimmy, and I was chasing after you. And then my straight best friend, my trans best friend, asked me, who's chasing Damon? And that's when I realized
that's when
I'm the one causing the problems. I'm the villain here, Deej.
That's when we started our hit podcast, Who's Chasing Damon?
Every week it's someone new. Is it a celebrity? Is it just a random person? You don't know.
Sometimes
it's always a random person.
Sometimes it's just a Pepe Le Pew thing where you're not.
Well, I got run over by a street painter, and Pepe Le Pew just thinks I'm a sexy female skunk and doesn't take no for an answer. You were saying something about our Patreon, I believe?
I was saying that the best way to support this romantic endeavor,
this podcast of romance,
is to go to patreon.com/YourInnerChild'sAnIdiot, where you can support the show. You can get extra episodes. We got more of this shit. You want more? We got more. You want
more of the past 4 minutes? We got it.
You want a little taste of Cincinnati Bengals? We did cover the Super Bowl that they were in and probably never will go to again. That was fun.
That was fun. I remember it vividly.
You definitely remember that we did that. And you can get your name in the credits, all kinds of fun stuff. Get your requests for what we cover shot up to the top of the list. And you don't have to chase us down or kiss either of us, which no one
steal
wants
a bread van. I still feel like Chicago PD, ACAB, of course, but Chicago PD, I mean, I feel like we know who stole that bread van and just left it at the train station?
Also fully assaulted one of the flower people, the florist team.
That poor bastard. Yeah, he got it twice. One from Kimmy and one from Jules.
He's probably concussed.
He had it coming because, he's a blue-collar worker.
With a TBI now.
Blue-collar? That doesn't sound right to me. What's between white-collar and blue-collar?
That is a...
lilac color?
Cerulean collar.
It's wisteria, you son of a bitch. It's a wisteria collar.
Patreon.com/YourInnerChild'sAnIdiot. Great commercial. I'll tell you what, we're workmanlike in our commercial making.
I forgot we were even doing a commercial. I didn't even know that the podcast was recording.
Damon, you asshole. Would you please recap this movie?
Yes. The year, 1997. The movie, My Best Friend's Wedding. This has already been covered in the introduction to this very episode. So we open up on a Burt Bacharach-infused world, where we have an opening number.
Yeah. We really do.
And we open on Jules. Oh no, it happened again.
It did happen again.
What's wrong?
Did you touch anything?
I have to leave. I can't be here anymore. I just touched it with the barest hint of a touch with my elbow. Okay,
Can't do that. Okay.
You can't touch things.
Just gonna keep it rolling.
Things? All right, bye.
Can't touch that. Oh, thank goodness he's gone. What else did I want to tell you guys while he's gone? One time, when we first started being roommates years and years ago, Damon tried to get Johnny Cakes, just saying Johnny Cakes as like an exclamation. He tried to get off that off the ground. It worked in the sense that he said it a lot. I don't know if it worked in the sense that anybody else said it or enjoyed it. It is funny, but not so much in a haha way, but in a that's kind of annoying sort of way. Oh, hey, Damon. I wasn't talking to the audience without you. That would be weird.
How dare you?
I didn't tell them about Johnny Cakes and how you tried to get that off the ground.
Johnny Cakes was great. Bring back Johnny Cakes. Justice for Johnny Cakes.
So
I believe I was saying something about
you were
Jules being a food critic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and she's a food critic in a world where the food critic is known by everyone, and she goes and orders one thing,
aka the real world,
and then tells the waiter what she's going to write about it, and then she just unpacks her life. She apparently has a deal with her best friend Michael. They would, by the time they're 28. Get married to each other.
So old.
Dude, how I felt like a Nazi at an Indiana Jones movie, just melting away as she said that.
Decrepit. Now that we've reached the decrepit, just crumbling age of 28.
Oh. So they had made that deal. She gets a call from Michael, and she immediately starts thinking, "Oh no,
it's happening."
He's wanted to call me out on it, but he says, "No, as my best friend, I want to tell you that I'm getting married this week in a city you do not live in, and I need you to be here for me." And that sends her spiraling, and she starts realizing, no, I've loved Michael this whole time. I need to win him back. I need to deal with his bride and maybe murder her and win the game. So she flies to Chicago, Chi-Town, Chirac.
The Windy City.
The Windy City, home to the Cubbies, the Bears.
Yes.
Cubs and the Bears. The elder. When you grow up, you become a football player. When you're a child, you are a baseball player. Just like St. Paul said. And there's also, I think there's a Native American named team in there. The hockey team. I know that because of National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
Okay.
They wear the Dorisies. That's neither here nor there, though, DJ. Please, stop distracting me. This is your Bengals podcast. So she... Burt Bacharach is playing in the airport as he always is. Actually, no, You Don't Know Me is not Burt Bacharach. She hugs Michael and it's great. She meets Kimmy and Kimmy's really nice and effervescent and bubbly and sweet. And Kimmy tells us that, Cameron Diaz, tells us that her best friend injured herself in some way or died. I can't remember. But Jules needs to be her maid of honor. Has to happen. Jules is like, don't you want someone you've known for longer than 45 minutes? And Kimmy's like, no. And so they go immediately for a dress fitting, a beautiful lavender dress to go with Julia Roberts, on brand red hair.
Mm-hmm.
All sorts of romantical hijinks ensue. She hatches a plan where she tries to get Kimmy's father, who is the owner of the Chicago White Sox. Right? The other baseball team in town.
Yeah.
I think 2 baseball teams?
Yes.
Rude.
American League, National League. But I didn't realize that that's what it was, but that sounds interesting.
So she's been wanting him to take a job with the White Sox so he can settle down and not travel so much. So she talks to her father, and this was Jules' scheme to piss off Michael. And it pisses him off for a minute, but then he realizes how much he loves Kimmy anyway. And then she finds out that Kimmy can't sing, so they go to a karaoke bar in order to humiliate Kimmy. But Kimmy's so likable and lovable that everyone just loves how poorly she sings. And she sings, this may be some of the worst singing I've ever heard in a movie. This is terrible singing.
It's pretty bad.
But she owns it, and, that's what karaoke bars are for. And Michael only falls in love with her deeper, which makes sense because she's literally his bride-to-be. We also find out that Kimmy has abandoned getting a degree, also known as dropping out, a term coined by Kanye West, on Michael's request, so that she can travel while he's a sports writer, writes for sports teams. He knows about the American League and the National League. He would know that.
Mm-hmm. Doesn't need any tips.
And so he wants his wife to be entirely dependent upon him and give up any career aspirations of her own. Charming. What else happens? So then Jules freaks out. She calls her...
I want to tell you, writing, especially sports writing, it's on the upswing. Late 90s, nothing but blue skies from here on out.
Things are looking up. You definitely don't want a second income when you're writing for newspapers. Actually, I get the newspaper here in town. And guess what section is the only section that has survived the cull?
I went to public school. I know where sports ranks as far as funding goes.
I'm also familiar. Anyway, then she gets her friend George, played by Rupert Everett, her gay best friend, to come to town to support her. And then she gets him involved in a scheme where he has to pretend to be her fiance. He uses this chance to humiliate her, which I appreciate.
Forgot about this whole plotline. Thank you for bringing that back to my attention.
This was the life preserver for this movie for me, was when Rupert Everett got involved in the plot. And he uses this chance, as he should, to humiliate her.
Yeah.
And then he goes back to New York or wherever the hell he's from. And yada, yada, yada. Eventually, Jules is like, I gotta destroy this. Oh, the email. Then she breaks into Well, she doesn't break into, but she gets into Walter, the owner of the Chicago White Sox's office, and tries to send a letter to Michael's boss, trying to scheme from Walter's email address to get him fired. But that's not the purpose. The purpose is just to write the email so that she can show it to Michael, and then he'll break it off with Kimmy. But it backfires because, as anyone who's ever worked in an office knows, the last thing you do before you leave for the day, you tell your secretary, send out any unsent emails from my inbox, please.
Send everything from my outbox.
What universe is this? Which his secretary, being a good personal assistant, does. And then
she doesn't ask him, why the fuck didn't you just send it?
Yeah, the send button is just as readily available to you as it is to me. And if you were sure that it's ready to be sent, then just send it. Why would you just wait for me to do it so I can...
Oh, you gotta wait.
Yeah, probably at the time you'd have that hourglass going by, and you're just waiting to make sure it goes. And then AOL would tell you, you've got mail, and it's like, yeah, of course I do. Like, what else would I be doing? Like, you're the inbox. I get a lot of spam from women in my area that want to meet me. That's neither here nor there either. It gets sent. He doesn't get fired. I know you're concerned that the sports writer for the newspaper might get fired. He doesn't, but his editor is like, I think you should know who you're trying to marry into. And so Michael calls it off. And then Jules has to come clean after having a heart-to-heart with Paul Giamatti. And she tells him that she loves him, and she's the one who's been scheming. And she is sorry, and she kisses Michael, but then Kimmy sees her kiss Michael, and Michael goes chasing after Kimmy, and then Jules goes chasing after Michael, and Jules steals a bread van, and she calls George the only sensible person in this entire movie, and he's like, who's chasing Jules? Nobody. Get the picture? Give it up. And eventually they all get married, and everyone's fine.
No, they don't all marry each other.
They don't, you're right. They don't all get married, which would have been a nice solution.
Little throuple action.
Hey guys, I figured it out.
There's some, chemistry there, so it could work.
Everyone seems to be ready to go. Anyway, she goes to Comiskey Park. Is that a correct park?
Comiskey, but yeah.
Comiskey. And that's where Kimmy is crying. And Kimmy calls her a bitch, and it's a fun scene because we get to see Kimmy's facade drop for a minute. And then they get married, but she still gets to be the maid of honor. And George comes to the reception, and they dance. And Julia Roberts, and you wouldn't believe it if I told you, but she laughs. That classic Julia Roberts laugh. Where she unhinges her jaw and swallows Rupert Everett whole.
And they
don't judge women's appearances, DJ. That was unnecessary.
And they all live
after.
Happily? They live. They all live.
They all lived. I can promise you that.
For a while, at least.
Kimmy got into a terrible car wreck, and actually, shortly after this, and it all worked out for Jules. She married Michael, and it's great.
Oh.
No, I'm just kidding.
George gave up his gay ways, his evil gay ways.
He found
and agreed to marry her. You know what I realized? This is good for context for this movie, something that I had completely not realized. I've seen this movie
before 9/11.
No, but that always is good to contextualize. We don't spend a lot of time on the New York skyline, so it's okay. But Kimmy is a junior in college. She's like 20.
It went over my head when I watched it in 1997, but exactly. It is insane how young she is.
When it's nothing's illegal or anything like that. Well, except for her hanging out in a karaoke bar.
Absolutely not. That bar should be shut down.
Yeah, but it does help contextualize some of her like giddy behavior. She's very winning. Like it's very charming and very like she's very sweet, and you kind of like even our evil main character is like, God damn it, she's really charming.
Yeah,
and
she's annoyingly charming in that there's nothing annoying about her perfection, and that just makes it fucking annoying.
It's even worse. But I think that is an important piece of context that I never got before. That I just went completely over my head. So it's nice to like see it. This is rewatching it and being like, oh, she's a child. And also explains some of her. Because she immediately folds anytime Michael is like, because he, even before things really go down, And Juliana's like the character, Julia Roberts, right? That's her name, Juliana?
Yes.
Jules. When Jules, before she even hatches her most evil plan to like send this email, she just kind of like points out that like something at the restaurant, and he's like immediately trying to call it off because she's like, and he's like, it's very unhealthy. All of these relationships are extremely unhealthy. Even the best one with Rupert Everett kind of like continuing to fly back and forth from Chicago. Like, no matter how rich you are, like, let her fucking deal with this thing. Like, you've done enough. And it's really, I'm really glad as a viewer that I get to like hang out with this character. But that's also
here. As did the focus groups. They were like, please bring him back.
Please
don't leave us alone with these three people.
Yeah. I just wanted to point out that her age just kind of, it doesn't matter a lot.
Insane. And I think I think that does explain her ebullience, her general ebullience.
Yeah.
She's just very excited and chipper and constantly scream laughing.
Yeah.
And I think I like the way that this film is like very much playing with tropes.
Yeah.
And you know, you kind of want her to be kind of like the Baroness in The Sound of Music, or like the potential stepmom in The Parent Trap, where she's like scheming and you're waiting for that facade to break in and never falls, except for like that last scene in
a completely reasonable
part. A totally reasonable slipping of the mask. Absolutely reasonable. But yeah, Cameron Diaz is great in this. But yeah, her age it's stuck in my craw a lot more than it's ever stuck in my craw in any other watch of this movie, because I am now older, much older, some might say, mathematicians for one, than she is, her character is.
More than doubly older.
Oh, DJ, why you wanna? I do want to sort of take her aside and be like, you don't have to get married.
Don't do this.
You don't have to get married to this man who wants you to give up your career and degree and, you know, your own semblance of self. And yeah, he is a little bit like, hey, dude, you're almost 30. You can't be throwing a fit in a bar just because she, you know, brings up potentially working for her dad again. And he kind of has like a temper tantrum.
Yeah.
I mean, I would like to talk about Michael at some point, but let's not start with him.
Okay.
Let's start with Jules, our main character, our anti-hero potentially.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Well, you know, it's hard to not like jump to like full conclusions, you know, but I do think that the movie to an extent knows what it has in her, which is a very, very flawed character who is still, you're like rooting for her in the sense that you want to know what she's going to do, or that you like, you know, I do think there is I don't know. I actually don't think there's an obligation for her to tell him how she feels. It's clear that like, Lauren called her a fuckboy, and I think that's pretty accurate. She like doesn't want him until, you know,
until someone else has. And honestly, in my interpretation, my read of this, open to debate, but my read of this is she doesn't want him really at all.
Yeah,
it's just a competitive winning thing. I think, I mean, the impression I get is that he is always sort of pined for her, and she always doing something else. And whatever, they never lined up relationship wise or whatever. Like they were always maybe he was with someone or she was with something. Whatever.
Won't they?
But I don't think she ever really wants him. I think she always knew he was there.
Yeah.
As like a kickstand, as a backup.
Yeah.
And once he wasn't there, like she just started freaking out. But I don't think she actually wants him. Now, I mean, that's up for debate. That's my read, though.
I think you're right about that. And there's also, I think, somewhat of a losing a friend thing too. Like I think she does genuinely care for him, and they care about each other, like in some way, whether it's romantic or not. Like kind of, there's like obviously some affection there or some attraction, but then there's also, I think it's not just losing the opportunity to have him as a backup or whatever she has in her mind, but also, you know, that's someone that she has this really close friendship with, which she knows is inappropriate if he's married or in a serious relationship because of like how kind of like kissy lovey-dovey it can be. And it's like, you know, if you just be normal friends, you can just be friends.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you can stay friends, and if he gets married, it's not this big deal. But if you have this, like, kind of, there's this sort of over the line.
There's a flirtatiousness.
There's a flirtatiousness that you can't maintain in a healthy way unless, you know, we're all cool and having sort of an open thing, which no judgment. But this is 1997. It wasn't possible then. We didn't have the technology.
We just hadn't figured it out. Yeah, I mean, I guess
you saw the emails, right?
We couldn't possibly just get another person in here, a polycule. It's not possible. Here is my problem. I think we might as well just get to it because the title even tells us they are best friends. Yeah. I don't know if I ever bought that they were best friends. First off, he hasn't told her who this woman that he's marrying is until the week of the wedding.
Rupert, Everett, George is her best friend.
I was going to say, like, the idea of Dermot Mulroney being her best friend is undermined by the fact that George keeps popping into the story, and they are instantly much more, like, friendly and playful and have a knows her better. It's just immediately clear, like, this is her best friend.
This is like, also, like, a very indicative of, sorry, I know I'm interrupting your train of thought, but, like, indicative of, like, this was her best friend from college or something like that, where it's like,
right,
that, and that's fine to, like, still call that person your best friend or whatever, but, like, this person knows a different version of you, and you know a different version of them, and it's real. It can be real friendship, but it's like, it's something different than someone who knows you now and knows your day to day and who you really are and who you know, want to be and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think that, I guess that could have been a little bit more. I mean, they do say that, but I mean, he's constantly described as her best friend. And when they get together, it seems like he's either clueless or down to fuck at any moment. Like, that's the vibe I get from Dermot Mulroney with Julia Roberts every moment of this movie. He's either like, wait, what's going on around me? Or he's like, shimmy down your pants. Let's do it right now.
Shimmy him down.
Just go ahead. Don't take him off. No. Don't pull the leg off first. I said shimmy. It's a shimmying situation.
Do we need to?
But like, there's like, it's overwhelmingly like not just romantic, flirty, romantic, like sexual tension between them. Yeah. But I do not buy that they are friends in any way. And further, don't get me wrong, 1997 Dermot Mulroney can do whatever he wanted to me. Even if he just wanted me to be a human hat rack in the corner, I would do it because I just am happy to be considered for the job.
Posing. Hands.
But like, he is a very sexy rock in this movie. Like, he is not interesting. And the fact that these women are constantly falling over him because he's so great, I'm like, what? I get that you want to fuck him. That I get. Hanging out with him in a social situation, I'd rather not. If there's an option to get out of that, I would take it.
You're a Dylan McDermott guy.
Yeah, I'm much more of a Dylan McDermott. Miracle on 34th Street? Hello. Dermot Mulroney for sex, Dylan McDermott for the conversation. So I did not.
He smokes cigars in bed. Yeah, what a catch.
And also, it makes you give up your career. Like, even on the page, like, he's not a catch. And so it was very I had trouble, like, getting over. I had to sort of just buy into whatever movie. I will buy into this, but I think this guy sucks. What did you think of Michael?
Yeah, well, he's not as bad as Jules, but he is because he's not actively trying to sabotage someone else's life to other people's lives.
You don't know what he's going to do at my best friend's wedding too.
That's true.
The wedding.
What would he do at her wedding? You know,
kills the groom.
But yeah, he's just kind of like, he's pretty flat. He's very much like just the idea that he would ask Kimmy to give up her career like before it's even started to follow a sport. Like, why? Maybe she suggested it or something, but it doesn't seem like she actually wants that. It doesn't seem like they actually talk to each other about what they want, which is a very 20-year-old thing.
Writing major. She's like she's studying architecture. Like, she obviously is passionate and wants to do something.
Yeah. When it's just like, I think it's perfectly fine to have a one-income household if you want, if that's what you want to do. But it's like, she's still in school. Like, at least let her finish if that's what she wants to do. And you guys can
let her finish her degree at the very fucking least. I mean, she is the daughter of the fucking... I mean, I'm not pouring one out for her. I'm not crying over Kimmy, who is apparently the heiress to the White Sox fortune.
Yeah.
But still, it seemed very shitty. It seemed like a very 90s detail that shit was supposed to just wash over us, and it does not wash over me now. Hits me like the Great Barrier Reef.
And speaking of, and this might go in should we go to the problematic corner just for a few things?
Oh, yeah, okay. I guess we were already settling in there, so let's get in there.
Let's slip in.
Ooh, watch out now, y'all. Damon's got a problem, baby. Ooh, watch out now, y'all.
I got moves. You know.
Let him know about it.
Is that what you're... What?
I'm sliding in.
Oh, I see.
Problematic corner. Damon, you've got a problem. What is it?
Do I? I already talked about her degree. What else is there to problemize?
There's a couple of like small things, small moments at least, where like
email technology, but that's not really a problem in terms of
it's not for the corner
political correctness.
There's like a moment when he walks in on Jules, when Michael walks in on Jules, and she's changing, and she's like hiding herself because he walks in on her bra and panties, which, by the way, this is very inappropriate. Julia Roberts keeping it toy, looking fine.
I guess I say that in the problematic corner because it's all wrong.
Because it's okay
here.
Because I'm. This is not just a place to be problematic. Anyway, but he's like, "What? Well, I've seen you more naked than that." Which is like, no, that's no.
No, you're engaged, and we're not that relationship anymore.
That's gross. What else? I think the general. Did that happen again?
No, I turned mine off so I could pop my jaw, but now you've drawn attention to the fact that I popped my jaw.
Well, I just want to say this is a small thing, and I think generally, despite having one of the, I guess not technically main characters, but one of the main cast in George being a gay character in 1997, they handled it okay, but he is still harassment if you slap women on the ass if you're gay, by the way.
Yeah, that is not cool, George. Leave them be.
I have known gay men who have acted that way, and some with, enthusiastic response from friends, and some with not so enthusiastic. And I'm like, that's still inappropriate, regardless of whether you're... Yeah. What else belongs in here? If there was something else. Just I guess there's a more...
Vengeful sluts. They can be...
They're from Nashville.
Criticize them all you want, but don't criticize them because they're sluts.
Yeah. Just criticize them because they're from Nashville.
Yeah. Although their accents are pure, like Georgia, Texas, like full, like deep South. Come on.
That is not someone who's been to Nashville to study language. But they also...
Rachel Griffiths and what's her name? Rachel Griffiths, who was in Muriel's Wedding and 6 Feet Under. But she was in Muriel's Wedding, which was also directed by PJ Harvey, PJ Hogan, and Carrie Preston from Elsbeth and Good Fight, Good Wife, the Good Wife universe, was the other vengeful slut.
Rachel Griffiths, of course, plays the one who licks the ice sculpture David's D.
Why would there be an ice sculpture of David at this wedding, of all things? Why not like a heart? Or Dermot Mulroney naked?
Yeah.
At least it's on theme then.
I guess those all the...
Yeah, those relatively minor. Yes, gays, don't touch women's asses or tits.
Tell us what else we missed.
I'm talking to you, 2000s, Damon. It's not cool.
Don't do it. All right, let's get out of here.
Ooh, watch out now, y'all. Let him know about it.
I'll tell you what's problematic.
Jesus.
forcing someone who does not want to sing karaoke to sing karaoke.
Ooh, yeah.
Don't do that.
Yeah, and she does.
It works out
over
for her.
the crowd, but
yeah,
don't she? Especially when she is reacting like pure trauma response. I don't know what happened to her during the karaoke, but she does not want to do it. Don't do it. But Jules is our anti-hero, so it makes sense why she tries to help.
It's good for the movie, but just don't do that to people. I do like how absolutely horrified, terrified at the very prospect of her having to sing karaoke. She's like in the bar. They haven't even asked her to sing yet, and she's just like trembling. I really like that.
It's like she walked into a sex dungeon. I'm like, what has happened to you in a karaoke related situation? What's wrong, Kimmy? Kimmy, look at me.
Well, and I kind of read that as like she's sort of how on edge he is and how like super quick he is to like call off the wedding makes me think it's not maybe just about the karaoke.
Yeah.
Maybe it's all just a little bit too stressful. And it seems like they did this very quick. Like
it's insane.
He tells, this is something I wanted to bring up in general. He tells Jules that he's getting married like that weekend.
His theoretic best friend, she's not even in the city in which he's getting married. And he says, I'm getting married on fucking Sunday to a woman you've never met. Please come. And I need you there. I absolutely need you there.
They all seem to have money, and they're both writers for periodicals.
It was a different time.
It was.
Yeah, I did not. That was one of my main like logistical frustrations with this movie was the needless time compression. Like I can buy that she has not met this person, but like why sell it in this weird way where she is being invited to a wedding for her theoretical best friend the week of, and it's a destination wedding for her
on a Sunday. So they guess they saved a little money on that.
Yeah, it felt needlessly compressed, and it made everything very high concept, very much so.
Yeah.
Which I will say to the movie's credit, I think the movie. I know you were joking about the opening number, which is a cover of guess who? Burt Bacharach's "Wishin' and Hopin'," a cover by Ani DeFranco, and it's a full like dance number. It reminded me. Have you ever seen the movie version of Bye Bye Birdie?
I don't think I have actually. I've seen the musical. But...
That opens with friend of the pod, Anne Margaret, in a yellow dress, singing in front of a solid blue background, singing the opening number to Bye Bye Birdie, the title song. And I think it's the direct inspiration for this. It's doing a very choreographed, but not choreographed number where it's like, are you improvising this or is this planned out? Oh, the camera's changed, so it seems like something's planned out here. But that felt like it was trying to put us in the mindset. I think I even brought up these movies for grumpy old men. The Rock Hudson, Doris Day rom-coms, like these really high concept rom-coms from the 60s. I feel like that was a purposeful choice at the beginning of this movie to put us in the mindset of those type of movies. Will they, won't they? They hate each other, they love each other. Their apartment uses a party line, and that's why they fall in love.
What did you think about
pillow talk? That's just pillow talk starring Doris Day and Rock Hudson.
What did you think about the musical numbers in general? Because we got a few moments of breaking out into song, and we got Kimmy singing her terrible. What does she sing? I can't remember. I don't. And at the beginning, we also have like all the family at lunch.
Right, singing. the Dionne Warwick, say a little prayer for you, more
which we'll get at the end.
Those are the two big, like, in universe musical numbers.
Well, we got at the beginning, we got the out of universe.
Yeah.
And then we've got the boys singing, so helium. That's my favorite part. Yeah.
The Jonathon verse, yes.
That is my nominee for the single scene award because it made me laugh more than anybody. Even though I like knew it was coming because that's all I remembered about this movie.
I had forgotten about that, and I do like that that seems like the thing that teenage boys would do at this like very lavish wedding. There's nothing else to do except like go get high off the helium tanks. I also like that scene just in general because it's very fantastical in that it's this tennis court.
Yeah.
But they have a net over it to keep all these balloons in place. So it has this ethereal, weird quality. And then you have this trio of teenage boys sucking on the helium machine, singing John Denver. Teens in the 90s loved John Denver.
Oh, yeah.
He had just passed. So it was a loving tribute.
He would have wanted it that way.
And they're like goofing off at first. And Jules is like, hey, stop it. And they stop for a little bit, but they're just giggling. It seemed very realistic. I was nervous when the movie first starts. The first third of it was like, I was kind of like on edge because I was battling like my memories of the movie, which are positive. And then I was like watching the movie in real time. And I was like, wait, this is clunkier than I remember. But I wasn't disenjoying myself, but I was remembering like, there's this big Dionne Warwick's number in the middle, like the halfway mark of the movie. And it felt like it was almost like, oh, it's coming. And then when it actually happened, because it's couched in this context of George humiliating Julia Roberts, much in the same way that she humiliated Kimmy in her karaoke bar appearance, it's him humiliating her. Because he's been put in this awkward situation and he uses it, as any gay man would, to create drama. So he sings Dionne Warwick because he's pretending like he's dating her. And so he tells the story of how they met, which is a ludicrous story about meeting in a mental institution where Jules is visiting a chef that she had driven insane with a review. And he's visiting a man who thinks he's Dionne Warwick. And the completely made up man starts singing I Say a Little Prayer for You. And everyone sings it, and it's kind of it wasn't as clunky as I was expecting it to be.
Yeah.
How did you feel about it?
It did kind of come out of nowhere for me. I didn't remember that at all. So the guy from the restaurant just sitting down and playing piano.
And it's a lobster restaurant, so the waiters have claws, as you would expect. And he's playing piano with these foam claws on his hands.
I kind of didn't understand what that was, but I didn't dislike it. It seemed a little like there are little flights of fancy in this movie, which I enjoy, but they kind of pop up out of nowhere. It happens often enough that it's like, I guess, thematic, but it's kind of like, it's like a straight line up, over, and back down to reality. You know what I mean? Because it's not like other moments besides the sort of song moments or out of character moments like that they're still funny things, but they're a different kind of tone. So I guess I found that weird, but I didn't dislike it.
You know what I was reminded of while I was watching it, but after, when I was thinking about it, I was thinking about when we watched the Seinfeld finale. And we talked about how I feel like the Seinfeld finale was like setting up all these sort of cliche final episode tropes of like, what if they do a big trip? What if they all die? What if Jerry professes his love to Elaine and then like knocking them down each and every time? Yeah. I felt like that's what this movie was doing. It was like, what if she schemes to humiliate Kimmy and then it knocks it down? And then what if she pretends that her best friend, like she tries to make her actual, love jealous by having her best friend who's gay pose as her lover. And then it sort of knocks that down over and over and over again. I felt like these sort of weird high concept setups were being built and then knocked down over and over again until the finale where, what I was pleased about while watching this is that Tyler was making Thanksgiving stuff while we were watching. By the way, everyone, happy February.
Surprise, it's the past.
But he kept like sort of popping in and being like, ugh, and she's gonna win him in the end. Like he hadn't seen this movie. And so he kept being like really annoyed with Julia Roberts because he had assumed she gets him.
Yeah.
And so he was getting more and more angry that she was being so terrible and that he expected that the movie would reward her for it. And then at the end, he's like, that is not what I expected would happen. And I was like, that's why I stayed silent, because I wanted you to experience this in real time. So I do like that about this movie. I think that is what it's trying to do, is sort of set up these really wackadoo concepts and then destroy them systematically.
Yeah,
including the sing-along, the random sing-along. Remember when movies with the character would just start singing and you're like, are we all supposed to see this? Not recently, but like 1960s movies, like, why is she singing suddenly? This isn't really a music. This is just the one song.
Yeah, that's interesting. And this was written by Ron Bass,
right,
the writer of
who's
Rain
written
Man.
A lot of things.
Yeah,
Rain Man, Waiting to Exhale, How Stella Got Her Groove Back.
I also found out while doing like the barest amount of Wikipedia research that he's like the Hans Zimmer of scriptwriting. Apparently, he's got like a staff. They call them the Ronettes because they're all like women. And there's like some
research as well. And there was a controversy, but I couldn't figure out what the controversy was.
Well, it's not like, it's a little nebulous because there's nothing where it's like he did anything bad. He just got like a staff, and they're like, oh, they help edit and type for him, and then they contribute ideas sometimes. And you're like, okay, well, are they writers? And he's like, I'm the writer. And then, but it's also like none of them, as far as I could tell, none of them have been like, no, I wrote this and he wrote that. He's just like, this is how I do. It's collaborative, and some of them have ideas, and I don't really care if it's my idea.
Like, didn't John Grisham get called out on that a little bit? One of those writers got called out on that. And also, you know who else? Jim Davis. He ain't fucking drawing Garfield no more. He's got a staff of people who draw that fucking shit.
Yeah. I guess I don't mind that in theory. As long as everyone knows what they're signing up for and is being well compensated, I don't really care. But I guess there is some question though. If you sign up for I'm here for a Ron Bass joint, you know.
We all go to the theater when they're like, who wrote that? Ron Bass? Okay.
Or is this one of the Ronettes?
I don't know. There is part of me, now that you've explained it a little bit better, I can see, though, a chance for exploitation. If you're a young writer in Hollywood, and Ron Bass is like, come work for me, I'll pay you, and you'll have your foot in the door, but you won't have any credits to your name.
That's true. Yeah, that is pretty shitty if that's how it goes. And we don't have any, just to get all the libelous statements out of it, we don't know anything one way or the other.
I don't know nothing about nobody. I don't know nothing about writing no movies, so leave me alone.
But I think that you make a good point about what the kind of trope stomping that he's doing in this movie, while still also kind of playing into it, which I think...
While also inventing the gay best friend trope.
Oh, is this the first appearance of
Not
the gay
really,
best friend?
but I mean, I feel like this is the first time I noticed it as a young man. I was like, wow, a gay best friend.
He's
and he's also sexless, like me. I'm pretty much Rupert Everett.
He's I think a really good best friend in the sense that, not in the sense of his sexlessness. You should.
No, I mean there is a hint of his sexiness.
Yeah,
we do see him, like, we get glimpses of his life, which I really enjoy.
Yeah,
he's not the focus of the story, but he's like going to book readings read by Harry Shearer, is doing a book reading at one point.
Fancy dinner
parties with some of the best of gays that the 90s had to offer.
Are those famous
Smoking
gays?
Cigarettes indoors?
Were those famous gays or just?
No, they just. I was like, oh yeah, 90s gays. How you doing, guys? Oh, you don't want to talk to me even now. Okay, no.
Okay,
go back to your dinner party. No. I can just sort of mill around until you guys are done.
No, someone just told me it gets better, so I thought maybe you'd talk to me now.
Oh, you don't know what that is? It's 15 years in the future. Don't worry about it.
Your kids are going to love
it. Oh, I'm sorry. You're adopted kid.
But I do think he's a good friend to her. Like, he maybe a little bit too, you know.
Oh, I think he's a good friend to her. Well, actually, let me hear your exception.
He's a little too, like, maybe codependent, like allows her to, like, take over his life, which is a very romantic comedy, rom-com kind of thing, where, like, he drops everything to be a part of this main character's life, even though he's very clearly got shit going on. But I also think the fact that we even get those glimpses is showing that he's like, okay, she needs my help, and I'm willing to, like, fly here just to, like, talk her down this is not an emergency situation really in any way, shape, or form. But
There's
knows that she
literally
feels that.
no emergency going on here.
Yeah,
I
but
can't
she is
stress
having
that enough.
But to
A mental health emergency. Perhaps,
yeah, exactly. To counterpoint to that is
which can only be cured by pretending a homosexual is your husband.
Yeah, which, to be clear, was not his idea. Was her whole thing, and he didn't even really go along with it. He's like, if I'm going along with that, I'm fucking with you the whole time.
Taking you down with me. Woman.
Yeah, which is a very best friend thing to do, exploiting all the loopholes to amuse yourself, and then, in the future, both of you, but at least in the moment, just yourself. And then he flies in again at the end of the movie because he knows she's not going to end up with him. Which
he says explicitly.
Yeah.
After he leaves, he's like, what he says, you need to tell him you love him and say goodbye. And she's like, and then what's going to happen? He's like, he's going to go be with Kimmy.
Yeah.
It's over. You need to face that fact. And I love that moment. It's such like a bald-faced, like, I'm telling you the end of the movie now.
It's a bucket of cold water in the face that she needs.
It's really a refreshing moment. And I'm glad that Rupert Everett gets it.
Yeah. What else we got?
I did write down a quote from Rupert Everett when he is introduced to Kimmy. He says, dear, sweet, perfect, chocolate-covered Kimmy. Those were her exact words. Such a deranged thing to say.
That is really good. I like that Jules actually ends up not only still participating in the wedding, but also like being the maid of honor and then giving a speech. Wild that you didn't have any privileges revoked.
It is insane. I can understand, like, maybe just due to awkwardness.
Yeah. You don't have a hole in the... Yeah.
Like, we bought this fucking lavender dress, and I need someone to sing the fuck beside me in the church. But otherwise, you don't say a word. You don't even get chicken or fish. You're just going to sit there.
You get sides only.
Yeah, exactly.
Like a vegetarian.
You get green beans. Yeah, that I am amazed. There was part of me that was like, I kind of wanted her to get her comeuppance, like, Seymour Krelborn and the deleted ending of Little Shop, like, really get her, like, due. Like, she has been... Because it's not just, she does, once we get into the weird email subplot, like that is a line that cannot be uncrossed. It's so insane.
They try to get around
every right to kill her. You had a right to put her in the guillotine.
I also like that didn't even work. Like his boss receives this email from the owner of the White Sox and just writes a letter, a super overnight letter. That was weird. But
I couldn't tell if it was a fax, but it was also in an envelope. Yeah, and I was thrown off.
But he's basically like he knows.
Overnight letter. No, not just tonight. I need it super tonight.
I need it to come before he talks to Jules.
Jules, the redhead. She'll be around.
I like that it doesn't work. His boss knows. He's like, "Yo, this is super fucked up." He thinks it comes from the dad, so he's like fooled by it. But he also is like, this is the email, just like super upfront with his employee, which is cool. Like, he seems like a good boss. You should probably keep working for him because he's like, this is the people that you do what you want, but you need to know this. I'm really sorry this is happening. This is very manipulative and weird, and just need you to know this. He's not like firing him. He's not like being like, he's not agreeing to it. He's going like directly to the source.
I did like that moment. It did feel a little real. I couldn't remember how that email, I know the email gets sent, but I couldn't remember how it plays off. And I just assumed in my head that, he gets fired or something. But no, I thought that was an interesting, realistic detail. This email though is fucking insane.
It is.
Not only in the plot beat itself, but just like, this is never how emails have worked. When she starts typing the email, she starts typing the man's name and his title. Not his, now wait for it, email address. Maybe she starts typing like Mike Fogel, senior editor at Sports Illustrated, or whatever the hell his title is. I'm like, what are you doing?
Maybe he had a address book and it popped down and we just missed that.
It's just one of those. No, you didn't, because you watched her type it out. It was like, why would his title need to be part of it? I understand, like, at that time, people may not have been familiar with email. And so they she wrote it like she was writing a letter.
What is this,
but
A with a circle around it?
Yeah. It was so insane. to me. And then I still am a little fuzzy on what the plan is. She would write the email. She wrote it out ahead of time.
Yeah.
And then she's sort of, what's the word? You do it when you're doing your guitar. He transcribes it. And then she's like, I can't send this. And I'm like, you've written it literally twice now.
Yeah.
What was the plan? And she's like, I'm going to save it for later. And I'm like, this isn't even your office, madam. How are you going to get into this situation again?
She was trying to get Michael, to come with her to the office to show him.
To his future father-in-law's office, and then they're going to stumble upon the emails.
How was she going to lie to say that she knew about this? It's a bad plan. It is a bad plan. It's madness. Either really, really dumb or extremely manipulative and weird. Either
playing 3D chess. She's the Trump of this movie, where everyone just assumes she's playing 3D chess, and it's someone who has just knocked over the game pieces.
Well, you just do the thing, and then you decide based on how people react on it whether it was a joke or not.
He's joking, unless I want him to do it, and then that's exactly what I want. That is what I want. I wanted her father to get him fired. That's what I wanted. I am a genius.
You can't say this stuff anymore. It's
hey, we're still in the Biden administration. Sorry, February listeners.
Paul Giamatti makes a very brief appearance. I just want to point that out. He has a nice little moment with her smoking cigarettes in the hallway, and we don't know he's Paul Giamatti yet. Some of us do.
We don't know that yet, unless you stuck around for the end credits in 1997. Let me tell you something. This scene made me want a cigarette, for one.
Okay.
It happens. It fits and starts. And when
You want a Merlot.
Paul Giamatti gives a good performance as a very sympathetic bellman.
Yeah.
But he says this, he gives a great performance, and he says, there's something my mom always said. And I'm like, here we go. The thesis statement of the movie is about to drop. And he's just like, this too shall pass. And I'm like, oh, what? Maybe, did we not say it as much in 1997? Is that why? It would have hit like an atom bomb if you were watching My Best Friend's Wedding at the time?
Wow.
That does make sense.
Was that a cop-out, or is this Ron Bass playing 3D chess? He knows that we want something.
What Ronette wrote this line? That's what I want to know.
Marcus Aurelius, the original Ronette. I am finished with things that I wanted to say.
All right, I talked about 90s gays. I'm just going over this. 2 things I want to talk about.
Yeah.
Just briefly.
Yeah.
Susan Sullivan, who some people might know from Falcon Crest, but I know she plays the mother of the bride.
Yeah. Yes.
Susan Falcon Crest, but I know her best as the face and voice of Tylenol in the late 80s, early 90s. Susan Sullivan, I salute you.
Big tube with wings. It looks like a big Tylenol.
Talk about gay best friends. Johnny from Airplane, exclamation point. God bless him. I think that was maybe my first time I was like, there's something about him.
There's something about that guy.
That feels very familiar for some reason. I can make a brooch. That's not the movie we're talking about, DJ. We're not talking about Airplane, exclamation point.
Get your second thing.
Oh, sorry.
You son of a bitch.
I talked about Dermot being a sexy rock, and I just want to go back to this because there is a scene where after
Dwayne
George
Johnson
flies...
that you're thinking of.
He's a rock, but he's not a sexy rock, at least to me. Some people find him a sexy The Rock. There's a scene where they're doing like a boat tour on the Chicago River, which I have taken for my cousin Josh's wedding in Chicago. I took that boat tour.
Heads up, Josh.
What'd you say?
I said, heads up, Josh.
And
I meant to say shout out.
I did not try to break up his wedding. I just want to say, because he's my cousin, you freak.
Hey, whatever you're into.
Hey, man, it's the 90s. And Dermot Mulroney, sexy as he is, he gives like a long speech. And I think it's supposed to be interpreted 2 ways. Where you're like, is he talking?
I'm doing right now.
Is he talking? Is he talking about Kimmy or is he talking about Jules? I couldn't figure out what the fuck he was talking about at all. Did you? get anything from that speech?
Can you refresh my memory? What he's talking? What he says?
DJ? No, I can't. It washed over me like so much lukewarm water.
He's talking about how, is that when he's like, it's not going to be the same or something?
Yeah, I guess. And like, she's like, are we about to fuck? Which is what I'm thinking every time they're talking. Remember when he sucked the ring off her finger?
Yeah.
DJ.
He was.
To quote George Costanza, I think it moved when it happened.
Is that, well, yeah.
I was like, Jesus Christ, your marriage just fell apart. You can't just start sucking women's fingers right away. Unless that's how you cope.
Yeah. And he was broken up at that moment. So, I guess it's okay.
Guess he was single suddenly. So I guess it's cool.
No, I don't remember what he said. It had only effect it was like when they kind of pull away a shot when you see them on the boat, like kind of standing there, and you see kids like giggling, like, because it's like a very romantic thing. And I was
they dance, they slow dance.
Yeah.
A song that's only playing on the soundtrack, not
their
being
song.
Played in the universe.
Just friends don't have songs.
You and I have never danced with each other, nor do we have songs. We basically barely have Johnny cakes. That's the closest thing we have.
And you tried, and I denied you.
Just spin me once, Steve. Oh.
All right, let's go to the verdict.
All right. DJ, what did you think of My Best Friend's Wedding, open parentheses, 1997, end parentheses? Well, open the parentheses again, Anno Domini, end parentheses.
Thank you. Yeah, my lord. So this main character is fucking awful. The man that she's after is fucking awful. Kimmy seems great, maybe a little immature, but she's 20, so she's on base. I think I do agree with you that George kind of Rupert Everett's character George kind of saves the movie, because it's not just comic relief, it's morality. He's like the moral center and the comic relief. Even though there are other funny moments. But when she does, Jules does realize that she's doing wrong things, and she, calls herself pond scum, but it's in a very like performative way where she's like still trying to kind of like win him by calling herself pond scum. Like, it's like, this is weird and gross and you're bad and go away. Having said all that, I do think it's interesting. I think it's an interesting movie. I did enjoy watching it. I enjoyed, I laughed several times. Everybody's hot. Cameron Diaz is hot. Julia Roberts is hot.
Everyone is a comely lass in this movie.
Yeah. Rupert Everett's hot. Dermot McDermott is hot. I'm the first person to ever make the Dermot film.
Susan Sullivan is hot.
She is hot.
Bring it, Suze.
Paul Giamatti's bringing it,
All right.
Okay, now you're pushing. No, it's
he's got a type, I gotta tell you, and it's everyone.
It's amusing. I think that it's an interesting take. It's hard to watch sometimes, in the way that like the Wonder Years was hard to watch, where they just keep making bad moral choices over and over again for like dumb reasons.
The
which is I don't know. I always like that show bothered me so much, and we'll have to cover it someday. But like, he would just lie for the stupidest reasons all the time, and I was like, just tell the fucking truth.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like, we finally get that when George is like, you're not winning, just stop. And it's like a beautiful, beautiful thing. Your Inner Child's not an idiot. It's enjoyable. I don't want to watch it again. But it's still good. And I think if you revisit this and you liked it, you're still going to like it. And there's going to be maybe things that you didn't catch, like some of the, or maybe I didn't catch, like her age, Kimmy's age.
28. I had to look it up. I was like,
yeah,
no,
their
that
age
can't be
too.
possible.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yes. I was
Kimmy's 20, they're 28. Yeah. And then, and some of the like trope kind of subversion that was happening too. I do want to give, so I think I'm going to guess that you're going to agree with me. The nominee for our Catherine O'Hara Memorial MVP Award is going to be Rupert Everett. But I got to give a silver medal to Cameron Diaz because she brings a lot to that character, which could have been like, it's not just her, like it's the choice of the script, but like she could have been like a villain or could have been like an airhead, and she's still like, she's silly and you know, and bubbly and enthusiastic, but she's also like smart and driven and kind and funny and nice. You know what I mean? Like
terrible driver though.
Terrible.
It's a detail I loved. By the way,
it just made me think she's 20-year-old. Yeah, and and so I want to give her like an honorable mention for that.
Mm-hmm.
I can't.
Mm-hmm. Wow. So you want to give the woman just like not an award, but just like mention that she could have won an award.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And I think
totally
my
agree.
Sally Field is going to be the I mean any scene where George is in it.
I want to say I kind of want to give it to when he like leaves her at the airport and he says he's going to choose Kimmy. Like, even though it's like, it's not a super like bombastic scene. It's not, you know, singing Dionne Warwick at a lobster restaurant.
Yeah.
It is like this moment where the movie like tells you what it's doing.
Yeah.
And then tries to pretend it didn't. And I like that moment where he is a moral character and the voice of reason. He's like, he's going to pick Kimmy and he should.
Yeah.
It's over.
It's happening. Counterpoint, it's got to be the kids singing the helium, because that made me actually it made me laugh like nothing else in the movie. So I'll leave you to choose from those.
Well, I make the graphics, so I'm choosing airport scene.
All right.
I would like to say something.
Damon, what is your
because I do every episode. Yeah, your inner child is not an idiot. I think what might hurt this movie a little bit is that there have been 27 years of romantic comedies that have come after this. And I think this is a moment where it's like sort of I mean, it's not like it blew up romantic comedies and every romantic comedy was like this one afterwards, but I felt like this one in a way kind of like made it harder to go back to those old tropes. And so...
Yet they did anyway.
Yeah, I mean, there's still bride wars. You know, if you're watching TBS on a Saturday afternoon, you might have to, get up and grab your remote and get out of there. But this was a little bit more clunky than I remember, especially that first third. And then, Rupert Everett comes in and kind of like keeps the movie buoyant for a bit. Dermot Mulroney, though, is, I think, the biggest drag on this. He almost feels like just a trophy boy. Like there's never really an explanation either by the plot, his characterization, or his performance that gives me any indication that he is worth anyone's time outside of the bedroom. Like, what are we doing here? Why are we all like destroying our lives for this guy?
He's a good kisser, apparently. So
he is a good kisser. Even though he may smoke a cigar in bed with you. And make you give up your career and any chance of an independent life.
Which is
anyway,
fine. Ugh.
But yes, this is a very enjoyable movie. I think Julia Roberts is playing against type here. And I think because of her charmingness, it can be easy, as Tyler maybe, I don't think he would attest to it, but I would attest that he was tricked by this movie. And thought that she was supposed to be likable and that he was like, he was seeing through the movie. And I was like, no, you're doing exactly what the movie wants you to think, which is that she is terrible. And it's still amazing that she does not end up with the guy in the end. The movie still, even though it doesn't punish her as much as she should be punished, it doesn't give her the
email
prize.
Fraud.
Jesus Christ, woman, what's wrong with you? He must be really good in bed if she's willing to go insane. But yes, I agree on your Catherine O'Hara. I will agree on what I have declared is your Sally Field Award winner. It's a very enjoyable movie. Maybe not as enjoyable as I remember it being, but still a charming watch.
Yeah.
Maybe even a Saturday afternoon watch.
Oh.
I don't know.
Slots are booking up.
I mean, I've already got Bride Wars right before this, but it's like the 1 o'clock movie. Like, I'll wait for the 3 o'clock movie. Thank you very much.
Yeah, there's no time before dinner. I don't.
Yeah, and then it's over at 5, and then I can start prep for dinner. That's what I keep telling Tyler. He keeps nagging me about getting chopping.
Women, am I right? What do you think, everybody?
I wasn't. No, it wasn't work. Just go ahead.
What do you think, everybody? Email us. You're not going to email us. You don't even care. You don't even care enough.
Email us. Type in Damon Xanthopoulos, comma, co-host of
Food
Your
Critic.
Inner Child is an Idiot, semicolon, DJ Phillips, comma, co-host of Your Inner Child is an Idiot. And then you write what you want to write. Make sure that your signature is right aligned, please. Thank you.
And then go to, send it to yourinnerchildisanidiot@gmail.com. Gmail didn't exist yet, but, you'll get there.
Yahoo. I'm sure there's a Yahoo address we can set up.
You can text us or leave us a voicemail, 615-576-0525. We want to thank our patrons, including
Just Cuz,
Little Miss Chicken Nugget,
Lindsay Halik,
Shit on the Cartouche,
Travis Vance,
Jackson has an unhealthy obsession with Damon,
Caroline Amberson,
Captain Jean-Luc Picard,
Karen Kurd,
Dr. Malcolm's Heaving Bosom.
Tommy Boy is my favorite movie.
Is it? Beth Servant,
Larissa Maestro,
David Mort,
Zachary Hartley,
Jonathon Day,
Hizoner the Mayor,
Heather Tuggle,
The Zesty,
Particle Man,
The Hands of Fate,
Bill Haynes,
The Elusive Fan Gromkin,
the supreme ruler of this podcast,
Jeremy Powlen,
Lindsay Nell,
Josh Frigo, not my cousin Josh.
T.
Got married in
Smith.
Chicago.
T. Smith. Stop walking all over T. Smith.
Jody Passanisi.
Oh no, Damon's Australian accent. That was just like Rachel Griffiths. I sounded exactly like her.
Oh no.
Thank you all very, very much for supporting the show. If you want to support like them, patreon.com/yourinnerchild'sanidiot. Forever and ever.
I also liked
3-bar for it.
Cannot sing.
Oh, it's a 3-beat bar. I thought that's what you were.
Oh, well, yeah, that was the next thing. If you hadn't interrupted me with your talk of the 3-beat bar, I mentioned that. What do you mean by a 3-beat bar? That's Burt Bacharach for you. Not Hal David. He just writes the lyrics.
I'm not sure I have that right, actually, because I haven't, written it out.